NCAA championship game. But to this day, his impact during his college years was much bigger than his basketball excellence, because as a member of the often imitated yet never duplicated Fab Five, which left a cultural and stylistic impression that transcended basketball and endures to this day. CWebb became the first sophomore since the great Magic Johnson in 1979 to be selected with the #1 overall pick in the NBA draft. With a marvelous array of skills that included superb vision and passing abilities and ball handling skills that complemented his power, athleticism, rebounding prowess, and shot blocking affinities, he had an offensive game that made you believe your eyes had the capacity to lie. Over his 15-year NBA career, he cemented himself as one of the greatest big men to ever lace him up, and he is a finalist to be inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame this year. His jersey is retired by the Sacramento Kings, where he turned a once moribund franchise into a championship contender during his stay there in the late 90s and early 2000s. For the past 10 years or so, he's been an exceptional television analyst for TNT's various basketball platforms, including Inside the NBA on TNT, among others, along with the off-the-hook dynamic news show Players Only, which he hosts. Outside of basketball, he is a Renaissance man who is serious about his business, currently working on a book, active in his investment interest in real estate, dabbling in film and music production, and producing his excellent Fearless or Insane podcast. Not only that, but the man deserves an Oscar, Emmy, Clio, BET, and Hoodie Award for his amazing portrayal of Johnny Gill in the New Edition story. Give it up, ladies and gentlemen, for one of the smoothest dudes around and the hardest working man in show business, Mr. Chris Webber. Hey, yo, Chris.
What's up, Rob? Craziest introduction, man, I ever had, man. It's crazy because people were hitting me up telling me I did a good job playing Johnny Gill. So I'll take that, man. I'll take that.
Yeah, man, we appreciate you joining us here on Strictly Speaking, man. We've been excited to get you into the discussion. You know, you're one of our all-time favorite players. Rod has often commented that you're one of his favorite teammates ever. And CWebb, when I had a chance to talk to you on your Fearless or Insane podcast, I just remember you gushing about Rod's game and his ability to finish at the rim. So we've been excited and looking forward to this for a long time.
I've been excited too, man. And like I always say, people always ask about, playing, with the Jay Will or Mike Bibby, and I always tell them that, Rod Strickland, I think, is the most underrated point guard, period. I mean that as far as he's the best finisher I've ever seen that didn't dunk. And I was telling my nephews to look at tape of him, because to me, Kyrie took a lot of that, what Rod had, getting to the hole, finishing, leading the league in assists, and just being a good cat on the floor and the dog. So he definitely one of my favorite teammates. And, man, when you get to play with people like Rod, that, when your career is over, I get accolades, but it was guys like him that, people don't realize that's why you, look like you're good, because you're playing with dudes like him. So all you got to do is run on the break, and it's easy because he's throwing it to you, and, you could finish. So, man, it was a blessing playing with him those years in Washington, for real.
Man, I appreciate that, CWebb, as you know how I feel, man. First of all, I want to congratulate you on being a Hall of Fame finalist, much deserving. You're one of my favorite teammates. I love playing with you. I tell people all the time, I led the league in assists. I led the league in assists because I was running ball screens, and you had to make a decision. And I tell people all the time, wherever I threw that ball, Chris Webber was catching it, and it was going in. So, but it's well deserved. I feel like you're one of the most underrated superstars. I still don't think you get all the credit you deserve. But I'm hoping, obviously, you're in the Hall of Fame because you deserve it. You're one of the top 50 players, I believe, of all time, and I think your stats show it. I think that every place you went to, when before the injuries, but every place you went to, you made an impact and you made that team better. And that says it all right there. So I'm happy for you, man, and I'm rooting for you.
And it's crazy, Rod, doing it. We did it in Washington. I was telling somebody the other day, man, hey, I love Washington. I love, first of all, I love the people of that city. I love the fans there, and I love the people, and I love the organization. But when we was there, man, you remember we had to pay to get our uniforms washed, man.
Yes.
They had us practicing in a gym that had a stage in it, like CYO, man. When my knee hurt, I swear, Ron, I was like, it's for 2 reasons. Growing up, playing in the backyard on that concrete and playing with the bullets on that hard floor, man.
No, seriously. I mean, it was, people see how it is now, and it's all luxury and everything, and they really don't understand. Like, we was at, no disrespect, but we was at Bowie State. Like I said, there was a stadium there. Things were totally different, as a Washington Bullet. And I'm going to say this one thing before we move on, and this is a story, because when I think about the Bullets, obviously, I'm thinking about you and Jawan and Cheney, Ersan. And I'll never forget this, and maybe we'll get into this later, but Ben Wallace, right? This story is always in my head. Because I remember this dude just coming out of nowhere, walking into that Bowie State. So every time I think of Bowie State, I think of us, but I think of Ben Wallace. So this is a dude who became a champion, has done all these things. But he basically, I don't even know if he was invited. I think he just walked in the door and started blocking everybody's shot. I used to tell people, I said, listen, man, Ben Wallace used to scare me as a shot blocker. I always felt like I could lay anybody. I remember being in this gym with this unknown dude, and every time I tried to go in there and make a layup, he was blocking my shot. I was like, wow, this is crazy. So every time I think that Bowie State, it made me think of Ben Wallace.
I'm with you, and you know what else I think about Ben? Because you're right, he did come out of nowhere, and I think about Ben, he did nothing but bench. So after practice, he been there doing like 8 sets of bench.
Yes.
This the ball headed Ben Wallace. That's how long this was before he grew his fro. For real. Yeah.
That's Chris Webber. I'm Ali Danwar, the man with the master plan. His name is Rod Strickland. You're listening to Strictly Speaking. See, Webb, I want to take it back to the essence, man. I want you to dabble a little bit in a little bit of thought and discourse on growing up in Detroit, right? Before basketball, before sports, before the athletic dream starts percolating. Just take me into the household, talk a little bit about mom and dad, early visions, early dreams, early people that impacted you, and what the city of Detroit, what that gave you before you blossomed into this magnificent basketball player in high school.
Oh, man. Well, I grew up on the west side of Detroit. My father worked in the factory making GM cars, the Cadillac plant, things like that. My mother was a teacher, so at home it was a lot of my father was like a disciplinarian, he didn't play that. And my mother, she was always on us, as far as enjoying life, making sure we were, good people, but at the same time, it was always about kind of learning in our house. So she was a teacher, Sunday school teacher and all that, and I think that she taught us that way at home. So, we had to, know Black history figures. We had to know different things about speeches or what our kings and queens in Africa and what they came from, what great inventions of Black people growing up. And so, we had to really answer things like little pop quiz and tests and things like that when she would, talk to us. It was all fun because, she was telling us what was in us and who she expected us to be and who we really were. And it's funny when I look at the media and things that's going on with politics now, my mother would talk to us about that when we were younger and tell us not to be blind and stay woke and make sure you understand this. And so, yeah, I just grew up in a loving family, man, where it was like the base of the community. So, with my mother, they had community programs at the crib, or you always knew that if you needed something from the neighborhood, even if we didn't have it, you can come over and be hungry with us. So a lot of times we had people, from the neighborhood. I found out later it was a safe haven for a lot of people. And, I'm real proud to just, have parents like that. But I was the oldest of five, so it was a lot of crying, a lot of whoopings, a lot of breaking your leg, a lot of wrestling, all that good stuff, and a lot of love, man, growing up in Detroit. And so I definitely feel the people of Detroit, of course, my family, but the village that helped raise me, I really appreciate all their love, because it's a lot of brothers that I grew up with in the same environment, that aren't here today because they didn't have that wall of protection around them like I did with good people.
You growing up in Detroit, Detroit has a rich history in basketball, great players. You got Magic Johnson at Michigan State. Who were the guys you looked up to? Who were the playground legends or the high school guys? You were the biggest recruit in Detroit since Magic Johnson, won 3 state championships, McDonald's All-American. So I know you've run across a lot of guys, but who impacted you basketball-wise as a player and maybe as a mentor?
Good question. Man, I would say, so from playing in St. Cecilia, man, we would go there every Sunday. You pay $1, and before I played there, I could watch some of the greatest play. So I grew up, man, I wanted to be Derrick Coleman, man. To me, he was the best power forward. And I watched him in high school. I ran with my thumbs up like I was Derrick. I tried to, anything he did, that's how I went home and would try to emulate it. That's why I always wanted to hit the boards, because of him. So Derrick Coleman to me, he was what Detroit was all about, and I always wanted to, Magic was a little bit older, but what he did was so far reaching, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? And so Derrick was somebody I was like, wow, he's Rookie of the Year, he's the first pick, he this and that. And so I kind of looked at it like, man, I better do what he did to hold the tradition of Detroit. So him, Anderson Hunt, Victor Alexander, Derrick Gross, D. Lighton, Tony Tolbert. It was just so many guys that I grew up just watching and loving and admiring their game. But Derrick Coleman, I say he was number one. And, of course, I forgot about Steve Smith. Derrick and Steve they would go to all the high school games together, even if one didn't play, one would be in the stands. So I used to want to be those two, Steve Smith, Derrick Coleman,
Yeah, everybody loves Derrick Coleman, man. Like, he's somebody that I want to get on this show soon as well, man. Cause,
you got to get him on.
Yeah, because I actually I heard your Players Only show. I saw it, and I heard Baron Davis talking about a story with Derrick Coleman. And that's Derrick Coleman. You know what I mean? And everybody respect him, but they know he's a dog. He's a soldier. He don't play.
He crazy. He's one of the good guys, man. He's one of the good guys.
Absolutely. Love DC, man.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, you mentioned one of the great cathedrals, one of the great national institutions within our basketball universe that maybe some people outside of Detroit don't really know about. I want you to talk about that oasis of St. Cecilia's. Just talk a little bit about Sam Washington. I've been in the gym. Talk about the environment, man, because growing up as a kid, that had to be one of the greatest laboratories, not only for competition, but as a kid, you got to see guys like Isaiah, man. Just give us a little bit of a glimpse of what that institution meant to your basketball development.
Man, you have to come through there. And it's funny, we played the New York Gauchos.
Yes, sir.
Through there, shout out to the Gauchos. They came in and won, and one dude was dancing at half court, man, and it was crazy. But it was New York Gauchos wild. New York, but St. Cecilia, man, Sam Washington, and the great coach Will Robinson would be there all the time to give you advice. It was a place, man, where you could come on a Sunday, on the weekend, actually Friday through Sunday, and it would be games. You would only have to pay $1, and so we would come and watch Terry Durod. Man, I see so many players there. Mark Aguirre, Isaiah Thomas, Magic. I saw play there one time. And then, of course, in high school, what was so dope is that we would get to play against, so maybe I was 14 the first time I played against Derrick Coleman, and he destroyed us. But you just want to go there that time, and really you just want to say that you played against the best so you can go home and play against kids your age and then, take that confidence with you. And so, man, it was great just growing up there. And then as a player, it was a place where, man, you know how it is. You know, some guys gonna make the league.